Yo, what's up, everyone? I am your host. My name is Sasha Omer. I'm an artist, a musician. I'm a Cypriot Turk that was born and raised in Montreal. Welcome to Creative Mood live à l'Idéal. Tonight's edition is a special one as it's done in partnership with Mural Festival on their 2024 edition. As previously mentioned, this event tonight marks 2 years of work in the making finally coming to life. So I want to give a big thank you to the incredible Mural Festival team for helping me make this happen. Thank you Catherine, Céline, Milan, and Alexis. I'm joined tonight by visual artist and muralist for the 2024 edition, Jordan Bennett. What's up, Jordan?
Hey.
Get a little closer to the mic, or
Sure.
get it closer to you, should I say.
Done.
Jordan, I'm gonna ask for your leniency and for your help in correcting my pronunciation, please. Jordan Bennett is Mi'kmaq from Stephenville Crossing, Newfoundland, and he currently works and lives in Halifax. Did I get that right?
Nailed it.
So did I pronounce Mi'kmaq correctly?
You did?
And would it be proper for me to refer to your heritage as First Nations during our conversation?
Let's go, Mi'kmaq.
Let's go. Before we go any further, I want to bring to your attention the little flyers I put on the tables. Printed on them is a QR code I would ask you guys to scan during the evening. In there are all the links to my podcasts, as well as the links to my guests. There's a Patreon as well as a one-time PayPal payment link. I also brought some Creative Mood t-shirts here for sale. So if you want one, there's a cutie right now that's going to raise her hand. You can go see her for a t-shirt. I think that settles it. Phew, that was a lot of talking.
Good at that.
Thank you, sir. I'm doing my best out here. So now typically I don't read bios taken directly from my guest's website, but given the weight of his resume and given that we seldom are confronted with people that have Jordan's background, I want to read from his bio. Jordan has a methodology that is deeply guided by the land of his ancestors. His ongoing work possesses qualities of familiarity that can serve as a connection for a wide range of audiences spanning cultures and generations. His work, though not always directly challenging colonial perceptions of Indigenous histories and presence, lends itself to discussions regarding contemporary Indigenous realities within urban and rural communities. His ongoing practice utilizes sculpture, painting, video, immersive installations, and sound to explore land, language, the act of visiting, and his familial histories. Bennett currently holds the position of Associate Professor Expanded Media at the Nova Scotia College of Arts and Design University. He received his BFA from Memorial University in 2008 and an MFA from University of British Columbia in 2016. Now check this out. Since 2008, he has exhibited extensively nationally and internationally in over 100 group and solo shows, as well as created multiple public art commissions throughout Canada. Damn. Jordan, it's a privilege to have you with us here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
That was...
Good thing I updated my website, huh?
Yeah, that's it's always so much to. I find that the older an artist gets, and the more baggage you accumulate, it's always a bit hard and daunting to know where to really start. And I feel that, like, for myself, nothing really makes sense if we don't start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it's the result of what, So, Jordan, as mentioned, you were born in Stephenville Crossing. Is that where you were born and raised?
I was born in the town over, Stephenville,
Okay,
which is 15 minutes away. That's where a hospital was.
gotcha.
But I was raised in Stephenville Crossing. Yeah.
Okay, and you've lived there for like...
I lived there from when I was born until I was 17. Then I went to art school in Corner Brook, part of Memorial University.
Right.
And that was like the first time that I left my hometown to
Wow.
live. I mean, I was 17, but it was fresh and new, and it seemed like a long ways away, but it's only 45 minutes.
Right.
But I was like free.
How many people in the town you were raised?
2,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and the surrounding communities. So this is one of a few Mi'kmaq communities in the area. So there's not a whole lot of people around. Like each community, 2,000, 5,250. You know, there's.
So people know each other.
Everyone knows you. Everyone's your cousin.
And what did your parents do for a living, Jordan?
My dad was welder, pipe fitter, traveled a lot for work.
Okay.
And my mom was the most amazing mom. She stayed at home with us and raised me and my sister and half the community.
Okay.
Always had friends over visiting, and it's a good place to grow up.
Social environment.
Absolutely, community.
Gotcha. And is your sister older or younger than you?
Older. Yeah, she's 8 years older than me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What music did your parents listen to around the house when you were growing up?
Oh, man. Nothing in particular. Just the radio was on 24 hours a day to the local news station.
Right.
I got sick of that. Still on.
Really?
It's probably on right now.
Okay.
It was AM 840, CFCB, or VOCM, the voice of the common man.
Okay, so I see you know it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you ever feel like you should go on there?
Well, you know what's really cool is that I've been working on projects, and like I've been brought up in the news.
Yeah.
Like I was working on a film, 2013 with the NFB, and we had a big film crew. And my mom was listening to the radio, and the radio announcer was talking about all the caribou that were in the area, and we were videotaping the caribou. And also keep your eyes open. There's people there with video cameras making some type of art project, but it was us. So I was like, I made the local news.
I think they should have you back, man.
Oh yeah, for
Honestly?
sure. Yeah.
What were the musical artists that you gravitated towards as a teenager?
As a teenager, wow. So, funny story. I just went home recently, and my mom was cleaning up the basement, and I found a stack of old CDs and tapes. First one I pulled out was Outkast, Stankonia. Whew. And then there was D12.
Yeah.
Remember that one with the green?
The first one.
The first one.
Ugh.
And then
Yuck.
there was, yep. What else was there? DMX, Jay-Z's Blueprint 3.
So you were like a rap kid.
Yeah, I was a hip-hop kid.
Okay.
I also listened to Sum 41 and...
if you're in Canada and you're a teenager at that time, obviously...
Sum 41 and Taking Back Sunday and stuff like that, right? So that was...
Okay.
Yeah.
How were you as a teenager, actually?
I was a weird kid, man. Okay. Yeah. Everyone else in my hometown played hockey. I don't like hockey.
Damn.
Right?
You and me both.
So I didn't play hockey. So I was a skateboard kid. So we was a crew of us that were skateboarding and BMXing. We always had our video cameras out, high 8, recording everything we did. It was the time of jackass. So we're doing stupid stuff.
Okay.
And I was in judo when I was a teenager. So I was practicing, some of that. And then I would just be skateboarding and hanging out with my friends, making music and playing in some bands and stuff.
Okay, so you play music.
I do. I haven't played in a long time, but 2 weeks ago I was in Newfoundland doing a residency in Fogo Island, and it's this little tiny island off the island of Newfoundland. And I went to this place where they build boats, and there was an accordion there, and I just picked it up. I'm the kind of person I could pick up an instrument and kind of just play it after 10 minutes. Yeah. So I started playing, and I was working, and I had people come in and start request songs. I was like, I've never used this thing before. So,
right.
Yeah.
No way. So, okay, well.
But I played bass and piano when I was
going to ask. Okay, gotcha. So, like me then, you can, as you just said, you can just sort of pick up an instrument, you kind of get how it works, and your fingers do the rest.
Yeah,
but then ask me to play a song, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And and when did you start playing music?
I think my first piano lesson was 8 years old.
So you took piano lessons at 8?
Yep. I think I stayed in that for about 5 years.
Okay.
So I had a flashback walking down the street today, Stanley Rollin. Someone was singing My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion.
Yeah.
And we're of that generation that everybody learned that on piano. And I was like, man.
You can still play that on piano?
Oh, yeah. That's my go-to.
It's funny that you say that, Jordan, because we have a piano right here. Okay, so for me, I'm trying to imagine my guests. I'm trying to imagine you. And I feel that, with all your answers, I feel we would have been friends.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. I was skateboarding. I was playing music.
Yeah.
I was obviously getting in trouble. Did you smoke weed when you were a teenager?
No, man.
Okay.
I was a pretty chill kid when it came to that.
Okay.
Have a couple beers every now and then with the boys in the garage or something, but no, didn't touch weed.
And how did, well, I guess it's kind of a loaded question because I understand that you started playing music. Did you think you were going to be a musician at that point? It was never sort of this idea. So you've become a multidisciplinary artist.
Yeah.
When did that transition happen in your life, or just that thought, the initial spark?
Yeah. So I always kept a sketchbook ever since I was a kid. And I had an older cousin. He was always drawn, and I would save my money from my little jobs I did around, and I'd commission him to draw the covers of my favorite VHS tapes.
Okay.
And then I would take that home, put it on my wall, and I would try and copy it.
Oh.
So I did that as a kid, but I kind of I stopped doing sketchbooks and stuff, and I started making videos and cutting all that stuff together. And then I had a lot of friends that were going in for pharmacy or dentists or nursing. So I was oh, maybe I should do something in the medical field. So I had all the prerequisites in high school. I did calculus, advanced math, physics, chemistry. I was going for prosthetics.
That was you're a smart kid in school.
I did all right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but then I had an art teacher in my last year of high school who said, I just decided I was going to do art. And at the end of the year, I got this $50 bursary / scholarship.
Okay.
$50? $50, grade 12.
Okay.
And
you're going places, kid.
I'm going far, but that was enough for me to really be wow, maybe I could apply for art school. So
right.
He was a good art teacher, and I'm giving big props. His name is John Carberry, and he still teaches now in my same high school I went to. That was a long time ago. I graduated 20 years ago from high school. So it was really cool. And then I decided that I would try it out. I didn't get in the art school. I got, and then 2 weeks before art school started, they called me and said I was next on the list, and there I went.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that.
I want to take a moment to just acknowledge what you just said, which is a recurring theme on the show when I speak with artists. And I always feel I want to bring this up, encouragement, validation. It's kind of sometimes I feel maybe corny. Some people think it's corny, or I don't think it is. I think it's the center of it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I can do this. Some adults said I can do this. You just told me his name. You know what I mean? That's how impactful people can be in our lives.
Absolutely, and it just takes that one moment.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been about paying that forward. Within my practice, if I ever get a chance to work with some young person who wants to learn, I'm taking it on. For me, it's always about you're giving it, you got to give it back in some way or another. So that's a big part of my practice.
Right. And so you're in school and you start touching, I suppose, many different mediums.
Yeah.
You start experimenting. What's that part of your life like? Is it clear? Is it experimentation? Is it fun? Is it a lot of putting everything back in question? How are you feeling about being in art school?
It was a trip because I wasn't the cool kid in high school or nothing by no stretch of the imagination. I was that kid out skateboarding and stuff, and the hockey guys were the cool guys. So I went to university and I fit in finally. First time in my life I fit in because I was around like-minded folks who were in the same kind of things that I was doing. And it gave me a chance to just play with different mediums and experiment with stuff. And my focus was photography. For 4 years I was doing blackroom photography.
Okay.
And that was my thesis year. I was going to go into that, and I just decided I wanted to try some sculpture and video animation and stuff like that. So then I kind of create this,
everything merges.
Everything, this multimedia interdisciplinary project, and that kind of started me on this path towards what I became known for. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another, and yeah.
Do you you're finishing school, but now you're still sort of very removed, if I may, from opportunities from the world. That's another thing on the podcast. When I meet people that are they live in recluse areas or just further, even musicians from the town over from Montreal, they feel the need to come to Montreal.
Yeah.
Where did you go from there, or did you stay there?
I didn't even stay for my own graduation. I applied for a position at the Banff Centre for the Arts in Alberta.
Okay.
And it was called, at the time, it was called the Aboriginal Preparatorial Work Study.
Okay.
So I went to the Banff Centre, and I trained to be a preparator at a gallery. So I learned how to like tear down exhibitions, build plinths, hang artwork, frame artwork, do matting, all that kind of stuff. So I went on May 5th, 2008, and I stayed till May 5th, 2009. I did 1 full year. And when I wasn't working, I was making art and meeting cool artists, or I was up on Sunshine, the ski hill, snowboarding,
right,
or skateboarding downtown. That's all I did for a full year. Skate, snowboard, make art, and learn. And it was awesome.
Yeah, I bet. How old were you at that point?
2008, I would have been 22.
What was your first? By the way, I want to touch on preparator. You said.
Yep.
I forget that that's an actual thing.
Yeah, and it's the best job. I learned more in that 1 year as a preparator, and my mentor, his name is Milo Maiolo, and he was the best. He taught me more in that 1 year than I learned in 4 years at art school.
Wow.
And I was working with really cool artists that then became my friends, and still are today, setting up their shows and stuff.
Wow.
People I looked up to, like in art school, I learned about it in art school, and here I am, like, oh my gosh, I'm handling their artwork, and oh my gosh, I'm helping you set up for your artist talk. Mm-hmm. So it was really cool.
That did not. That fact did not escape you.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
A career in the arts is obviously a lot of work.
Yep.
But it's also luck. You know, because life is chance meetings, occasions, it's showing up, it's going to the thing. What role does luck play in your career?
I think a lot. I'm in the right place, I think, at the right time. Mm-hmm. And my cousin always asks, how far is the horseshoe up there? So he's like in his 60s, and he knows that I'm in the right place, right time. But I work hard when I'm in those places, and I meet the right people, and I also, like I said, I pay it forward, and I think that's a big part of why I am where I am today is because I had people in my life who gave me the time of day, and when you get that kind of energy coming towards you, if you put that back out, it comes back tenfold again.
I agree. So, that's definitely how I live my life. Yeah. And I definitely know when I'm in the presence of people who don't live that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel it. You're like, oh, okay, you're not in that circle.
Yeah.
You're not in that flow. And it's hard to describe because I would never say that of someone. Yeah. But it's a feeling.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, not everyone can be in that mode all the time, right? Because we all go through some stuff. And
absolutely.
It's always, for me, it's about being kind and being present when I can. Because sometimes I can't be in that way either, but...
I feel that I really love the expression when luck meets preparation, because that really is the center of it. It's like, sure, we could talk for hours and hours about how great you are and da-da-da, but there's luck, but also if it's just luck and there's no work behind it.
Yeah.
It's just that sort of perfect happenstance.
Yeah.
Touching on what you mentioned in your bio, his work, though not always directly challenging colonial perceptions of Indigenous histories and presence, lends itself to discussions regarding contemporary Indigenous realities within urban and rural communities. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit more about what that means to you and how it manifests in your work?
Yeah. So I always have created work about who I am and where I'm from. And the history of Indigenous people of where I'm from is very convoluted and is told by the victors. So it's not. I'm sure many people know Newfoundland was its own country until 1949, and then joined Canada. And the Indian Act came into play in 1867, the rest of Canada. So we weren't part of the Indian Act at that time. So we didn't get signed in because the Premier of Newfoundland at the time swiftly said that there are no more Indians. That was the words he used on this island. And just like that, they didn't have to take care of the Mi'kmaq, the Innu, or the Inuit of Newfoundland and Labrador. And they already had killed off the Kjipuktuk, our relations. The last of those folks died in early 1800s. Her name is Shauna Deethet. I have her artwork tattooed on my arm, actually. So when I create my work, it's always about who I am and where I'm from, because that's what I know. And I know our oral histories. I know the presence of our people on the land and our relations in all Mi'kmaq. So that's Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick, Quebec, and Maine. So when I create work that I have created work in the past that's been very directly commenting on colonialism and the impact it's had. But I also like to create work about our people and how we are strong and beautiful, and we do create things that show that beauty and that strength, and is not always the stories that get shared on the news are often about the hardships.
Yeah.
They don't ever show. They're starting to now, but it hasn't often been showing the joy in our communities and the beauty through our cultures and our understandings of our world. So that's why I started creating pieces that are very bright and vibrant. Creates an entry point for anybody. Like if you like the color pink, you're gonna be brought in. You're gonna learn. And every piece that I create, I title in our language, and I'm still learning our language. But I use Mi'kmaq words to title my pieces because then it puts the words of my community and my ancestors in the mouths of other people who never ever spoke the language. So for me, it's about, connecting. It's about creating a little bit of an easier path in to have these conversations. So when I have your presence and I have your voice, or you have my voice in the room, and your attention's on me. Like right now, I'm creating this beautiful piece, but I can talk to you about what has happened to our people out east.
It's true that two things that you say. First of all, thank you. That was a beautiful answer. It's true that in the media, what do you see about Indigenous people, First Nations? It's like it's always the hardships, you know? It's always the hardships for everything, you know? It's always that fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, even for myself, you know, humbly, I'm like, oh, all those words in your resume, on your work, I'm like, I can't say those things. I don't know how to say them. And then I feel shy, and I'm like, I don't want to be rude with my guest.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
But to hear you say that that's the intention of creating a dialogue and putting the words out there, I understand even more your intention is like, oh, you know, it's okay if you make a mistake when you say it. You can learn how to say it better after, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But keeping in line with that thought, and I formulated my sentence here, I'm going to have to read this. I have to ask, and I don't know exactly how to frame this, but I've observed that marginalized people who pursue arts are often very engaged in deconstructing and challenging social expectations. I wonder if you sometimes wish there wasn't this pressure or expectation cast upon you to be a spokesperson or representative of whatever cause people associate you with. So then, do you like that position, or do you find yourself frustrated at times having to play that role?
Damn. Good one. That's a big question. I love being in the company of other Indigenous artists in exhibitions. It's my favorite. But I also love to be in the presence of all artists, and being able to have these conversations and to be able to break down these ways. And yes, I have been the spokesperson many times because there's not enough people that want to ask the questions or want to have a conversation, and they just have assumptions. So for me, it's really important to have fun and be open with conversations. And I was told once there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So questions are meant to be asked, and if I don't have the answer, I'm not going to answer it. But I'm also the first to not take on, say, like a project that has nothing to do with me. You know, like it's something to do with someone else's community. So I would never tell a Cree story or an Ojibwe story. It's my stories from where I am and who I am and where I'm from. Yeah. So it's oftentimes the misconception is an Indigenous person knows everything about Indigenous things. Yeah. You know, and that's just a huge stereotype.
Yeah, I'm Cypriot Turk.
Yeah.
I could never be held accountable to know the history of the Cypriot Turks.
Yeah.
You know, in that same way.
Yeah.
I find that, like, sometimes, you know, it's so much easier when you're like a certain skin color and a certain language, and it's like, oh yeah, I can just make art to have fun, you know. But then like when you're some type of artist,
Yeah.
everything you do has to have that additional layer that people keep. I don't mean to say like it's mean or it's ill-intended,
Yeah.
but it's just like,
They try and tease it out.
yeah.
Yeah. It does get exhausting. Absolutely. I just want to make nice art, good art that everyone likes because it's good art,
Yeah.
not because it's Indigenous art.
Which relates to what you were saying about like it's not about just like showing the struggles and everything. Like
No, man.
we're beautiful people and we have fun and like
Yeah. That's the thing I find wild is like, oh, it's a black artist or it's a native artist. But, you know, if you're not a person of color, you're just an artist. Right? I just want to be an artist.
yeah, that's
Who happens to be Mi'kmaq.
yeah,
You know, like,
yeah. But it's funny because I
want
can
to make cool shit.
correct me if I'm wrong. It's like one informs the other, but sometimes you wish they would be separate. You know?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a cousin of mine, Nelson White, he does this project, a portrait project, and he just, everyone's like, what's your concept, you know? Like, trying to ask for a deep answer. He's like, I just want to paint cool natives doing cool shit.
Because I'm dope and I do dope shit.
And he's like, that's all I want to do. Like, this is my family, this is my community. I just want to paint all these cool people.
Yeah. I ask that, I guess, because I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, with my music, and sometimes I know that the next music I'm putting out is going to be like, okay, so you want me to be this role? I'm going to be this role.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah. And the thing is, sorry, I didn't mean to
It's
interrupt
okay.
you there. I had
Please.
a thought. One thing that I like to do a lot is like, so as you probably have seen and know, a lot of Indigenous art, historical stuff is in museums, is in collections. So within my practice, I lean on that and draw inspiration from and get to visit with a lot of our community belongings. So one thing that I've done is I've used my privilege as an artist and also as someone who has a master's degree and all this kind of stuff. And I go into these collections and I get to interact with them in different ways. So I've been able to take them out of the museums and put them in exhibitions and give them a new life.
Oh.
So what I'm trying to do, so for example, like I take porcupine quill designs, which is what our people are known really well for.
You're beating me to the punch. All right.
And I put them within my contemporary painting to continue the stories, to build on those stories. So the reason I do that is to have conversations with ancestor artists and people from community and stuff like that, and bring them out in a different way, let them breathe, but also as a means to make it easier for the next generation come along to be able to do this kind of stuff. Now I have helped set a precedent. I'm not the only person doing this, but I'm doing it, and I'm helping to set a precedent so that way it's easier for the next Mi'kmaq artist to come along 20 years from now or 5 years from now, 2 years from now, be like, well,
He did
Jordan Bennett did it in 2019 or 2020. There's a precedent. So like I just want to make it easier because I've had so many people help make it easier for me, and I'm just want to. This is all about visiting and paying it forward. That's basically my tagline.
I do appreciate that. I read your bio and your website and some of your taglines, and the word visiting.
Yep.
I gotta say, Jordan, I don't read that word much.
Yep.
For myself and the people here, just give me a bit more insight about what you mean when you say that.
Right now, what we're doing, I consider this an act of visiting. Like we're sitting down, we're having a conversation, we're having a drink of water. It could be sitting around a kitchen table with your auntie having a cup of tea. Like that's visiting. You can visit with humans and non-humans. I spend a lot of time with family and community, but I also spend a lot of time with like the land, with like community belongings or like things that have been made 200, 300, 400 years ago. That in Mi'kmaq, that's an animate thing. It's still alive. It was made from a living thing, and it's still alive, and it still has spirit. So for me, getting a chance to visit, it can encompass anything.
Right.
And when I'm doing a mural, it's exciting because I'm visiting with the community here. I don't get to come to Montreal as like very often, but when I come, I really embrace it. And everyone that comes down the street, like today, I seen like 10 chain gangs of little kids, you know, like holding hands.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I'm just waving to these kids, and they're like just so excited. I'm like, this is what it's all about. Like now that kid will see that an artist painting a big wall that they're gonna walk by every single day with their class said hello. You know, like that's important to me.
You're very, very purposeful in your intention. I can feel it. I understand everything you're telling me, and like that for me, Jordan, is what I'll be remembering tonight when I think about our meeting. Is like, wow, I love when I meet someone who has intention. It's sort of a frequency that's very permeates me a lot. You know, it gives me even more energy to be mindful. You know.
Yeah.
Speaking about the reason for your visit in Montreal, can you give us more insight into the mural you're painting, what it means, what it represents, and what inspired it?
Sure. So every time that I do a mural or get to come visit a place like, Montreal or Toronto or anything like that, I often dig into the archives of what is from my community, at Mi'kmaq communities in this area. So the McCord Museum has a lot of Mi'kmaq porcupine quill designs. So
What? Okay.
yeah. Our stuff's all over the world, like down New Zealand, Australia, everything. A lot of it was traded, and as a way of paying for food for our communities back in the day. But a lot of it was stolen, especially like ceremonial things. But the quill work, a lot of it was made for trade and sale. So it's everywhere. So there's quite a bit here at the McCord, and a lot of times these pieces, like I said, they don't get a chance to come out. They don't get a chance to breathe. They're locked up in drawers. They don't get to come out. But there's documentation of them online most often. So I get a chance to go online, check out these pieces, visit with the designs, and then incorporate those designs and be inspired by those designs to bring them out to rematriate those pieces from being inside these museums back to the streets where our people are walking down and checking it all out.
Did you guys hear this? That's amazing.
So that's what I'm doing for this piece. A lot of the pieces, the colors, everything. So you see hot pink when you're checking out this thing. We've had hot pink since the 1850s. Like it's our traditional color is like hot pink.
Wow.
So everyone's like, "Wow, you're using such contemporary, beautiful colors." I'm like, "No, man, those are OG." Like
you guys are catching up.
Yeah, welcome. So I'm doing that piece. I 2 years ago I did a big piece at OCAD on the face of OCAD University. That was based on some porcupine quill work that was at the Royal Ontario Museum. I'm currently working on an upcoming project. I'm sure it's going to be a question of yours too. I'm probably beating you to the punch again. Upcoming project is I'm working with the Ballet Collective out of New York City. The choreographer is a dancer from the New York City Ballet.
Wow.
And I've created the inspiration art for that project. It premieres in New York on October 29th.
Wow.
And I got to hang out. And I didn't get to go visit it in person, but I got to hang out and look at the images of our porcupine quill work that's at the Brooklyn Museum. So the whole piece is based on porcupine quill work that is from Mi'kmaq territory, but currently in Lenape territory in New York City. So every time I go somewhere, I get a chance to see our pieces. And then, like I said, bring them back, rematriate them, put them back on the streets, put them back in artwork, and let them live in a different way.
Does your, and maybe I'm not saying this right, the professorial, because you study, you have all these degrees, all these letters now to your name, which
Weird,
means,
right?
Yeah. So does that mean that like you get to go to a museum and you get treated as a serious professional who knows about the history of this thing, and maybe not manipulate, it's not the right word, but you can have some kind of interaction that goes beyond what like I would have if I go to the museum?
I don't know. I just started. Okay. I'm a brand new professor as of last September, but I feel like I have some pull now, a little bit extra.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. It's easier to get into these collections like that, and I'm using that to my advantage.
I was going to say...
So I could bring it back so I can be like, hey, young Mi'kmaq people, come to New York or go to this museum, want me to write a letter for you? That's why I took on the job as a professor. Is so that way, I didn't have a great time in art school when I was going. There's a lot of obstacles. So I want to make it easier for the next generation coming up. So if anybody's going to school where I'm teaching, I'm going to help you create. My goal, I think I'm breaking a lot of rules at this school, but I think it's going okay. I want students to walk away at the end of the term proud of something that they made. I don't want to give them 4 projects. I want to give them 1 project that they're going to feel like, damn, I can take photos of this and use this for future grant proposals or something like that. Like, I'm very proud of this work. I can exhibit this work for the next 5 years, because I didn't get that opportunity, because you had to do A, B, C, and D. So I'm just like, I had a student come up to me, he's like, I want to write a children's book. I'm like, hell yeah, write your children's book.
That's it's so much intention. I don't know what to tell you. It's making me emotional to hear you speak like this. I really love to know that there are people like you out there with that kind of intention bringing it forward, paying it forward, man. It's like, not only do we need more of this, but we need to show more people that do this, you know, that have this approach to life.
Yeah.
It's serious.
Yeah. It's a good life.
Can you share with us some of the behind the scenes preparations that go into producing a mural? I've worked on the first edition of the Mural Festival.
Yeah.
I was accompanying a muralist called Pixel Pancho.
Awesome.
And I was looking at him mix his colors.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, with those gallons, and like he's very crude, and I was a bit blown away of his mixing skills, you know. And I wonder if you're using spray paint. Am I right?
Both.
Okay.
I'm using spray paint and roll-on paint.
Gotcha. So do you have like a pressure gun, or just
Nope,
like,
just
okay.
rolling it. Yeah. But so you want to know how I get to the point of getting that mural on the wall?
Please.
So I often do a quick sketch by hand, and then I bust out the iPad, and I have created a huge catalog of my own designs.
Okay.
That I can then put in. And all my colors, they are all created in a way that they pay attention to and respect previous Mi'kmaq artists' colorways through their porcupine quill designs. So you'll often see purple next to red. You can go to any museum and find a Mi'kmaq quill work box. Purple will be next to red. So there was a methodology to our makers' color choices back in the day. So that's how I treat my pieces too. But I put my own little flair on it and do a few other things and use the designs to tell different stories. Like all my pieces tell stories about journey, about place and time, day, or spot in the universe. So I make it all on the iPad. I print it out usually. I have a little color sensor that I like, you know, for sampling paint.
Yeah.
I have my own. I'll sample the color on the page, and it'll tell me that's a Benjamin Moore this color or whatever this color. Then I'll send those off to the folks. And then oftentimes if there's extra spray cans, which Mural has a amazing little warehouse full of cool stuff, I'm like, oh, that color looks great.
Right.
And I'll just, you know, do a little accents like that. Okay. So it's really organic, to be honest. It's planned, but it's also I'm open to change.
Well, I mean, you know, I want to, you know, point out that you're saying I have a backlog or like a catalog of artwork that I mix and match. Like that's, again, like a lot of preparation. I guess it would be a good time now to know more specifically and precisely, what is porcupine quill work?
Ooh. So porcupine quill work. Y'all know what a porcupine is?
I don't know. Raise your hand, guys. All right, there you go.
So our people have been making porcupine quill designs for a long time. So what the original way of doing it was you'd throw a blanket on a porcupine, and then it would release its quills, and you'd pull off the blanket, and you'd have all the quills, so you didn't actually hurt the animal. So you collect the quills, and a really good friend of mine, Melissa Peter Paul, she's fantastic. Go follow her on Instagram. She is making contemporary quill work in the same way that her great-great-grandmother was like one of the most well-known. So either way, you collect the porcupine quills.
I just want to stop you right now. I want to understand, like, you're throwing a blanket on a porcupine?
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to go well?
Yeah, they're pretty chill.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it just loses all its quills?
Some of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And nowadays, like, they're roadkill too now. Like, I mean, obviously not back 300 years ago, but you know, y'all pick up a porcupine and you pull the quills out. Yep. So you're pulling all the quills. You have to then sort them by size. Then you have to dye them. And every single, like, you're using OG, like, quill dye would have been, like, stuff from the earth. You know, like using different plants and herbs that would then create these colors. So it's not a tried and true for each time. So when you say you put a batch in with contemporary dye, like a pink, you pull out the quills, they're not all going to be the same pink. Mm-hmm. So then you have to sort them again by color.
Right.
It's a huge process. And the original porcupine quill designs, and it's still done the same way, you use birch bark from a birch tree.
Gotcha. And
then you draw your design, you poke all your holes, and then you insert the quill wet in the one side, and you pull it over, and you create this very linear mathematical design.
This is very time consuming.
Oh yeah, huge time commitment.
How long would it take to do a quill?
Quill piece, I mean, if you're experienced, you could do one in a few days. But I'm talking like people used to. So Europeans came over back a long time ago. We were colonized a long time ago. The Mi'kmaq people were doing chair seat covers. So like our chairs, you do a full chair seat cover, top and bottom. You do a full set of 6,
Right.
completely quilled. And then you would sell that to the chair maker or the person who's commissioning it. And then that's what you see in museums and collections. So those took a long time.
Right.
And it was done around a table with community, and everyone pitched in.
Thank you very much. I was like, I wanted to look it up, but I wanted to hear it from you.
Yeah. I usually have one of Melissa's medallions on, but I didn't bring it with me this time. Next time.
Now, obviously, I'm a musician, Jordan.
Yep.
I like to know, first of all, my first question would be, what are you listening to when you're painting a mural?
Oh, today,
Or working, should I say, creating?
hip hop, always. So I'm also a DJ. I haven't DJed in a long time. My DJ name was Muskrat Benny. Look on SoundCloud. I've had one mix and it's pretty funny. So I would just DJ like 90s hip hop and stuff. But I was listening to Ktaqmkuk's new album because I'm a big fan of Ktaqmkuk.
Gotcha. One in Montreal, I suppose?
Yeah. So I listened to that today and anything and everything. Big fan of Run the Jewels. William Prince, who is
I met William Prince.
he's that voice, huh?
Whoa. Honestly?
Man.
Okay. Whoa. Is Ariane here right now? Ariane got me to, she said, so I used to work at Stingray Music.
Okay.
And she's like, so you're going to go tonight, you're going to meet this, you're going to judge this contest.
Yeah.
And you're going to give them $5,000. So I know what I'm doing. It's like, I'm the guy who everybody's going to love because I'm giving out
you
a
got
big
money.
check. And it was William Prince.
Man, his voice.
If
you guys haven't heard William Prince,
I cried.
Oh my gosh.
cried.
And even his like speaking voice, you're just like,
William Prince. Honestly, I want to have William Prince on the podcast.
yeah. And a good friend of mine, I listen to his music a lot, Jeremy Dutcher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So he is fantastic as well.
He just put out a new record recently.
Yeah.
On Secret City. Where are my questions? Where was I? So, for me as a musician, I think about colors a lot. And I always find it funny how, for visual artists, they think about music a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think sometimes we don't necessarily draw those parallels, but it's like, I'm not listening to music when I'm creating music. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Whereas, it's so funny when you meet visual artists, their appreciation of music is sometimes so much more profound that you're like, right, I forget that people listen to my music when they're creating.
For sure. Yeah.
I find that visual artists have sometimes such a connection to music that sometimes musicians are too cool to admit.
Yeah. Yeah, music is always a part of what I'm doing. And that's New York project. I'll explain a little bit more, which is super exciting. So I created the source artwork, which is a painting. And then the painting went on to the musical accompaniment. They're a band this year. They're called the Westerlies. They're out in New York. And they're a 4-piece brass band quartet.
What are they called?
The Westerlies.
The Westerlies.
So they took my painting, and now they're writing a score. Currently, right now, they're writing a score for the ballet.
Wow.
And then the choreographer is going to take my artwork and the new score and then write the choreography for that.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
So that's it's manifesting into this performance. That's going to happen, and it's just going to be crazy.
Will you be there to
I will be.
attend?
Yeah.
Wow. What's the name of the ballet troupe again?
The Ballet Collective, and they're out of New York. And
Gotcha.
the choreographer is Troy Schumacher, and he's a dancer. He's been dancing for the New York City Ballet for 20 years.
I'd love to see that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Winding down here. Jordan, I don't want to get too heavy, but I want to get real.
Let's do it.
Could you tell us a bit more about some of the challenges, the realities faced by the Mi'kmaq communities in Canada today? I don't know that we're solving world issues tonight on Creative Mood, but I want to know that we're shedding light on issues that people need to be made aware of.
Oh, so that would be the time where you use First Nations for sure, because it's all the First Nations across the country.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, yeah, I don't want to get too deep into it, but
you know what? We don't have to.
there's we stand by our brothers and sisters all over the world who are struggling right now. All the conflicts that are happening globally, in the Middle East and down in Africa and all different places. So our people are strong, and we know what a battle is. We know how to stand up, and there's a lot of amazing warriors out there in Indian country that are doing really amazing and powerful work that sometimes get cast in the wrong light by media. So there's people out there doing the important work, and the artists we're trying to hold them up, and we're trying to create things to bring attention to those subjects as well in all of our different mediums, in all of our different ways. Yeah.
Let me ask you, in a different way, is there, I would like to know for myself, a good book, a movie, a documentary, some type of album from the Mi'kmaq community?
Yeah.
If you could share some of those with us, that way people listening can play it back.
There's a really good documentary just came out. My good friend Newell Joe, he did it. It's called The Forgotten Warriors. It's on CBC Jam, and it's free. Talks about the recognition of Mi'kmaq people on the island of Ktaqmkuk of Newfoundland. It's a really important documentary about specifically Mi'kmaq people. But yeah, listen to that or watch that. Listen to Jeremy Dutcher's music.
Yeah.
Morgan Toney, who is an amazing fiddle player, Mi'kmaq fiddle player. Alan Sillyboy and the Thundermakers.
Say that again?
Alan Sillyboy,
Okay.
a friend of mine, and his band is Alan Sillyboy and the Thundermakers.
Amazing.
They're fantastic. We've got great
go.
musicians out there. We got great folks. Sarah Prosper is a young Mi'kmaq dancer. Just a ton.
Great. I always feel like I want to ask those questions because who better than you to give us those tips, you know?
Yeah.
So my last two questions would be, Jordan, if there's one negative perception people have of artists that you would like to change, what would it be?
A negative perception of artists.
Yeah. If any.
I don't know, man.
Okay, my guy's got it all figured out, yo. Sheesh. Jordan, what's the hardest part of your creative process, and how do you overcome that?
Finding time. So if you got a solution to like make more time, that'd be awesome.
I'm afraid I'm not your guy on that one.
But no, I think that's the hardest part is finding the time to do all the stuff that's up in my brain.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot up there, and like I'm finding inspiration more and more every single day. So I have 2 beautiful kids and a beautiful wife, and every day my family inspires me for new and exciting things. Like my view of like how I created art completely changed when I had kids. And I stopped like just concentrating, for example, on the traditional Mi'kmaq colors in the quill work. I started incorporating the colorways that my little guy Sagaj, what he liked, like his toys and stuff, like what was catching his eye. Right. And I started paying attention to that, and I started incorporating all that. And I've always created artwork before I even had kids. I created artwork for kids because there's going to be that generation that's coming up who are really going to change the world. And if I can get them to see art in a fun and exciting way and be a part of it, then that's awesome.
I'm going to end it on there. Jordan, thank you very much. I must say that it's been a real treat to get to talk to you and to feel the intention through our conversation. Before we go, guys, we're going to take a little 15-minute break. We'll be back with Oshin Siva. For those at home, there's going to be another episode with Oshin. As mentioned, for those here tonight, we're going to take a quick break, get something to drink, get some food, and we'll be right back for my next guest in like 15 minutes. Woo.